Okay, so this is going now. I'm going to show you how to use Jmol today and how to set up a protein to start building. So it's kind of a lot of information, so I have like a brief overview happening here. When you make a protein, you go through a couple steps. First, you set up the protein in Jmol, then you block it off in 2 centimeter increments using a Sharpie. And every 10, you want to draw an extra thick line. This is just a personal preference of mine. It helps you keep track. You can, like, if you forget where you are in the chain, you can be like, oh, like the last 10 was here, so that's number 20. I'm at 25 right now. Where should I be on Jmol? Which I think makes more sense. Then you want to stick on your end caps so you know where you're starting and ending. And then you want to fold it. Then you want to check the 3D structure. When I'm folding initially, I'm not so worried about the overall 3D structure and effect. I kind of like to just do it to start and then check that everything is right in 3 dimensions at the end. And the very last thing you want to do is you want to add the side chains. So I'm only going to go over setting up the protein and how to add side chains today, mostly because if I were to show you how to physically fold the protein right now, like I would need a camera on myself, and this is just screen recording. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about how to set up Jmol. So the first thing we want to do is open Jmol, like I have right here. For some reason, my Jmol has a really, really small top bar. I don't know why that is. I've never been able to fix it. I know that on the school computers it's better, so just bear with me. I'm sorry about that. So the first thing I want to do is open Jmol, and I'm going to actually make this smaller so that I can show you both my notes and this. Go ahead and just ignore what's in the background. I promise it's not that important. There we go. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is you're going to want to go to File, Open, and you're going to go. Sorry, my bad. Not quite yet. I jumped the gun. You're going to want to go to File and then Console to open up this script console over here, which is where you're going to enter all your commands. And for the record, the thing with the script console is that it doesn't have an undo button, which is kind of a hassle. You just have to literally manually undo whatever you just entered in if you did something wrong. So now we've got that. The next thing you're going to do is open your protein. So you're going to go to File, Open, and you're going to search through your files. So for me, I stuck this on my desktop, I believe. Let me find this. Where did I even put this? It should just be on this. Desktop. It's called this, and it's going to be a PDB file. So you're going to open that. So maybe I should go back into how I got that file first. So I pulled this 1 GIA PDB protein off of 2006 rules. So you go into this year's protein for whatever the site looks slightly different now, but it's basically the same thing. You go into this year's proteins, and I just chose the invitational site model to look at. So we're doing the invitational site model. Then you click on this little link here. It'll take you to this site. You go to download files, and then you go to PDB format right there. And then that's basically all you need. So that's where I got that. For you guys, it'll be pretty similar. You're probably right now, if this is your first time building, going to be building the pre-build model. So maybe I should have done the septarian reductase, but whatever. But anyways, so just do whatever protein is this year's model, because I didn't see it up yet, so I couldn't do it for you guys. Okay, so now that you have this all set up, you have Jmol open, you have your console going, you have your protein open, you're going to start entering commands. So basically, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to say cartoon off. And that turns off that big weird ribbony thing. The next thing you're going to do is wireframe off. Now the wireframe was already off, but occasionally it comes on sometimes, so wireframe off is still helpful. Then you're going to do space fill off. And right now that just made all those things disappear, but I promise I'll make it come back. Then you're going to say backbone 150. Now, I personally like 150. Backbone describes the the thickness of this, so I could also say like backbone 100. Oh shoot, I misspelled that. Backbone 100. But I personally like 150. I don't know, just my preference. Then you're going to restrict the number of chains. So most of these are multiple chains that are kind of like combined together and they reflect each other, but you only have to fold one of the chains. So you say restrict, then asterisk means chain, and then you describe what chain you're restricting it to. So I'm going to say A. There's no I there, that's why it's not. Restrict chain A. Compiler error. Well, I can't get it to restrict right now. I'm not sure why that's happening, but I'm already really far into this video, so we're just going to ignore that and move on, and I'll update you with what it's supposed to be. Then you're just going to say display the chains you're going to have to fold. So they'll give you a range here. I'm saying 1 to 100 pretty basically, or 1 to 100. Not sure if that's an actual range. I can check though, because sometimes they start at weird numbers. So this one over here, I can double click it. And then this one over here, I can double click. So this is 100 and this is 34. So this is actually range 34 to 100. So what we're actually doing right now is 34 to 100 because it doesn't actually start at 1. So I can double check that by saying display 34 to 100. And see, it's showing me the same thing. So I'm actually starting at 34 right now. Okay, anyways. So then I'm going to select my starting one, which is now 34. Select 34. I'm going to color that one blue. And this is my start cap. So I think they all start at with a meth group, but I could be wrong. But basically you have a blue cap in your bag and it's going to go on this end. Then you're going to say select 100 or whatever your last one is. You're going to color that one red. And in your little bag, you'll get a red cap and you're going to put the red cap on that end. You don't necessarily have to put on the cap right now, but personally, it's helpful to remember which end is which, because if you put it down and you pick it up and you forget which end is which, you're gonna have a big issue. Okay, so now that we've colored our start and end caps, you're gonna select the first 10, which in this case is 34, so it's 35 to 44. So select 35 to 44. And I chose that range because it's 1 after the beginning to 10 after the beginning. And I'm going to color that, say, light green. No, they don't do it light green, let's say teal. So the program will use certain colors. I don't even know all the colors that it picks up. It picks up some really random ones. I think you can say tangerine or I don't know, maroon, and it'll use them. You can also stick with your classic Roy G. Biv. But anyways, so select the first 10. In this case, because we're starting at 34, it's 35 to 44. And then the next one is going to be 45 to 54. And you're just gonna start coloring it like the colors of the rainbow that are all different. Let's color this. No, we'll just use orange. We'll use a regular color. Color orange. Wait, did I not select? Oh, I selected the same thing the second time. I'm sorry, guys. Select 45 to 54. Color teal. Okay, there we go. And so you're just going to keep going till you reach the end. So now select 55 to 64, color that magenta. Select 65 to 74, color maroon. Select 75 to, or 75 to 84, color lime. Select, 85 to 94, color, gosh, what other colors even are there? Purple, plain purple. Color purple. You get these weird error codes when you type something in wrong, so I'm pretty prone to typing things in wrong, as you can see. And then the last ones will say color 95. So we're edging up on the end. I don't want to get rid of the spread cap, so we're going to do 95 to 99. Or select 95 to 99. Color that white. Okay, so now what you have is this really beautiful, like, colored protein, and the color changes every 10. This isn't, okay, I like doing this in competition, to be honest, but sometimes it just takes too much time. What you want to do is you absolutely want to do this for your pre-build, because it's a huge number of amino acids to keep track of, so having it change every 10, especially that in combination with the fact that you're drawing an extra thick line every 10, means that you know exactly where you are and you can't lose your place, which is like the biggest hassle. So now you have this really beautiful colored protein to work off. And I guess now I should probably start describing the commands that I'm using to, like, move this around, because you're going to have to move it as you're building it. So the first thing is, if you just take your mouse and you click and you drag, you can kind of rotate it along these axes. If you hold Shift and you click and you drag, you can zoom in and out. I think if I do Control, how do I translate? Okay, if I hit Alt, I can kind of spin it around the Z-axis. If I hit Control Alt all together and then drag, I can translate it plain. So I think the most helpful ones to know are, let's make a thing right now, commands. The most helpful ones to know are Control plus Alt plus drag. We'll just pure translate it. Left to right or up and down without twisting it around. That one's really helpful. The next one is Shift plus drag. We'll scale it, like make it bigger or smaller. And then I think beyond that, I mostly just twist by plain dragging it around. But these are super helpful. These two commands that are like a little bit more complicated than your standard. Okay, so now that you know how to move this around, what you're going to do is you're going to start folding. My method for folding usually involves just, so what I do is I look at this protein, I start at the blue end, and I say, okay, like in what way can I view this that I can do the most folding without ever having to reposition the protein? Because every time you reposition it, you have to kind of take a second to, like, think about what you're doing. So actually, this is a really nice way of viewing it right now, because I have all the chains are kind of in view right now, and like two-dimensionally, like, this is pretty good. So what I do, and then I can see, like, okay, before I start, I can say, like, okay, like, I know it comes up this way, and then up this way, and then down that way, and then over here. And so sometimes you have to rotate it to see if this, like, new branch is in front of or behind this branch, but for the most part, this is a pretty good way to start. So what I would do is I would fold as much as I could this way. maybe taking a second once or twice to kind of flip it this way and then back, this way, back, just to kind of see what I'm doing. But you really don't want to like adjust it too much, because every time you adjust it, like you're looking at it from a slightly different perspective. So you want to try and not move this once you started. So fold as much as you can, and then you're going to check your 3D structure. You're going to hold up your finished product, and then you're going to start rotating this around and say like, hey, like, does this look good from all angles? Like, you might even pull one of the test takers aside, say like, hey, can you double check my structure overall? Because that's really important, even beyond the smaller micro things, is that how the overall shape is. So let's say you have it all finished now, and you need to put your side chains on. So side chains, what's going to happen is they're going to give you, like, within the range, they're going to give you a couple different important amino acids, and they're going to say, like, model the side chains here, and usually they give you either, like, a little piece of tape to just kind of show the direction of them, or they give you these fun little plastic bits. But anyways, so let's say right now, let's say the numbers 63, 64, 50, and 42 are all important numbers. So what you're going to do is you're going to select, let's start with 64. So select 64. And you're going to color that some other color that doesn't exist before on your chart, just so you can see it especially. So right now I'm just going to use plain green. Yes, I haven't used that yet. Okay, perfect. So now you see here's 64 on your chain. So locate that little bend on your overall structure. Then you're going to turn wireframe on. And because you have 64 selected, it's only going to turn wireframe on here. You might remember wireframe is one of those things we turned off in the beginning. What it does is it displays the amino acids. So I'm going to zoom in on this for you guys. Oof, can't get to it. Okay. And then another optional thing is I think I'm going to put space fill on just so you can see. Space fill 20 maybe? Not sure if that's the right number, but we'll try. So let's try space fill 20. Space fill 50 maybe. Space fill 50 is pretty good, so space fill 50. That's another thing like the backbone where you can go higher or lower. So I could go to space fill 100 if I so chose. It's just like a matter of personal preference. So you're going to have probably a cheat sheet that has the shapes of amino acid side chains. So you would say like, oh, like which side chain is this? Personally, I don't know right now because I don't have that cheat sheet on me. But chances are you'll have like a little plastic bobbly piece that looks like this. And so now you know, like I'm going to attach this bobbly piece here. But it's important that it's pointing in the right direction. So this wireframe piece is actually in 3D space. So I know like, oh, like it pretty much lines up with this chain here. This kind of pointy bit points along this end. So you just want to make sure that it's pointing in the same direction. So let's do that again one more time just to show you. So select, we'll do 50, color, gosh, I don't know, like fuchsia? That's how you spell it? That's how you spell fuchsia. We'll just use red. We'll use red, even though, no, we have red at the ends. Color, yeah, we'll use red, even though it's at the ends. I'm cheating. Wireframe on, space fill 50. And the only reason I said like use a color that isn't already being used is just so you can see it against the others here. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that. So even though I have red, I would actually probably not use red just because it conflicts. Maybe we'll change that color to the lime color we're already using. So anyway, so this is just so you can see it in three-dimensional space. So now I know, okay, like this one points this way, and it's the one with the 3, and you just put that on. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's how to use Jmol. That's how to put on your end caps. That's how to use your buttons to move your stuff around. I'm sorry once again that my bar is so low over here, but you should be good to go. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.